Hi, greetings and welcome to all of you who will be viewing and or listening to this documentary re our botanical gardens in Dominica. For those of you who don't know, my name is Loftus Dura and this is the nature isle of the Caribbean. Some choose to call it the nature isle of the world, and so I choose to agree with that as well, because in Dominica you guys can come and enjoy nature at its very best. And so for those of you who will be making a very conscious decision after listening and watching this documentary about our botanical gardens that hold significant importance to us in Dominica, I want to thank you in a profuse way in advance. Please do come and enjoy the Nature Isle. I will be in just a short while joined by a brother, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Ashton Luge, better known to us in Dominica as Wackers. Wackers has worked at the botanical gardens for some time, and through the number of years that he has worked there, he has gained a vast amount of knowledge and experience, so he is well equipped to speak to us as to some of the beauties of the botanical gardens in terms of its scenery. But just before we hear from Mr. Lugi, let me just give you guys an idea as to the significant importance of the botanical gardens, especially as it pertains to the historical aspect to us in Dominica. So I have a brief write-up here, which I'm just going to read to you, and then thereafter we will hear from Brother Lugi as he takes us on that all-important tour of the botanical gardens. So it starts by saying here, once known as one of the finest botanical gardens in the region, it was severely damaged by Hurricane David in 1979. Following restoration efforts, it remains focus of cultural life in Dominica and a center of conservation research on Dominica. It continues here by saying the Botanical Gardens was established when Dominica was still a colony of the British Empire. The Crown government began planning the gardens in 1889 with the goal of encouraging crop diversification and to provide farmers with correctly propagated seedlings. The 16 hectares of land, formerly a sugar plantation within the Bath Estate area, was sold to the government in 1891 by its owner, William Davis. It continues here by saying, planting of the gardens began in 1890. Its first curator was Mr. Charles Murray of the Royal Botanic Garden of Edinburgh. He was soon replaced by Henry F. Green, who planned and laid the grounds down at the Botanical Gardens. Joseph Jones took over its management, and in 1892 he was involved with it through the entire remainder of his life. Jones would also become the first superintendent of the Imperial Department of Agriculture for the West Indies in 1898. Botanists from Kew Gardens in England supplied a variety of tropical species from around the world. Though its primary purpose remained economic and experimental, Jones introduced ornamental plants to make the gardens much more attractive. It became known as among the finest botanical gardens in the West Indies in the 1930s. The gardens were extremely damaged by Hurricane David in 1979, which destroyed many of its impressive old trees. One of the trees, a gigantic African baobab tree, fell and crushed an empty school bus. The tree and the bus remains as a relic of the destruction within the gardens. Many plants have since been restored. So folks, I just read to you a brief summary of the historical importance of that place, the botanical gardens located on the fringes of the city, and as the write-up said, used to be a sugar plantation of old. So without further ado, let me now move across to Mr. Ashton Lugie, better known as Wackers, to give us much more information as we go on a brief tour throughout the Botanical Gardens.
Welcome to the Dominica Botanical Gardens in Roseau, Dominica, and we are right now on a former sugarcane plantation, and it's the Dominica Botanical Gardens was established in 1889 by a guy called William Davis, and of course of colonial times. And the garden went through several changes over the years, over the centuries, and moved from being just from sugar cane and established with an ornamental and popular area for plant species. And it was divided among two administrators, which is the Forestry Division and the Agricultural Division. There are a number of administrative sections within the gardens that some of them are now, we have relocated them, but the Forestry Division, I think now is the sole remaining administrator of the Botanical Gardens responsible for that. So as I said, they were divided up into two sections. One is more of agricultural nature and the other one is more ornamental. At that time when it was established, there were over 500 species of plants within the gardens, of different, mainly exotic species. So the plants were brought in and they were planted. And these plants, we are about to see, are actually remnants of those species that remained at the gardens. Of course, the gardens were severely affected over the years by the different hurricanes, ranging back for many years, from 1846, ranging back from very early years. But the major storms that affected the gardens were Hurricane David in 1979 and Hurricane Maria of 2017, in which a number of species were lost. A number of major species that were there for centuries were lost. So what we are about to see are what are remaining of the gardens in terms of its major species at the gardens. And of course, you know, what we're about to see would be species that are there and has to be maintained, protected at any cost, so that people can see what we had at the gardens and serve the main purpose of the gardens.
Yeah.
So that's just part one. All right.
That's the first stick. Ashton.
Yeah, that's the first stick. Okay.
Yes,
Second call, that's the first stick. So as I said, we'll move, you know, to the other section of the gardens. Of course, as you know, the garden is a popular area for visitation, and of course, mainly by the cruise ship visitors. Cruise ship visitors, what you see here coming would be people that are mainly from a cruise ship, and they would come here and do a visit before they go, you know, to other areas.
So we can say that is a tourism attraction.
It is a tourism. It's a major tourism attraction, and would be one, if you want, one of the first stops of any site visits to Dominica.
Yes.
It would usually stop. And of course, an extension of the gardens would be the Monbruce area, which is part and parcel, which is managed and administered by the Forestry Division. So the Monbruce area, it overlooks the garden. It is another area you go to, and you can have a panoramic view of the gardens.
Yes.
And see this sort of, you know, area, and of course the entire city of Roseau. So it is administered also by the Forestry Division. They use the people, their laborers to clean and maintain these two sites. What connects the two areas between Monbruce and the gardens is a trail. There is a short walk that we will show you. We may not do it, but we will show you where that walk is. Okay? So,
and what's the name of that trail, just in case some person?
It's called the Monbruce Trail.
Okay.
They call it, or the Jack Walks.
Jack's Walk. That's
the original name of it is Jack Walks, but people now use it as the Monbruce Trail. Okay. Botanical Gardens to Monbruce Trail.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, man. All right, so folks, we are in the gardens, the Botanical Gardens, having a tour, as it were, with the brother Ashton Walker's Louis, guy who knows the gardens inside out. And yes, he will be telling us some of the names of the trees and, you know, just giving us a really educational tour of the garden this morning.
Of course, for any tour, of course, the first stop would be at a tree called the banyan tree. Now, the banyan tree, as it were, or as it is described, is one of the largest trees at the gardens. And of course, it is of significance because of one, its canopy and its sort of growth system, the way it grows. It has a sort of thing called the aerial roots that grows, and as soon as it touches the ground, they kind of get stuck in the ground and grow in the ground, and that's why it's there. It's one of the main trees because of its very large canopy, provides shades as you can see. But it has a very shallow root system, as you will see and notice, because the root system spreads all over, and it shows, and hence its growth. Because as you can see from it, the aerial roots grows, it touches the ground, and then it maintains itself and stays in it. This is another thing, and some of the aerial roots that people use them, it's a little attraction. It can be the kids use them to swing. You can actually use them.
Yeah, I saw
and
someone
swing
swinging
on the
on
aerial
this a while
roots.
ago.
So people would come and take a swing from one of those roots, one of those shoots there. See, these are the aerial roots, and as you can see, people use them all over too. They can have them. They are that strong, you know. It is that tree there itself is a tree native of India, and it was obviously, you know, if you go over India, you see a lot of these last trees growing. So that's the banyan tree, or what you call the red ficus tree, common. The banyan.
The banyan tree.
Banyan. B-A-N-Y-A-N. Banyan tree. When you move over, you see a very interesting and what we can call one of the results of our hurricane. That what you are watching there is actually called a baobab tree, and you notice that it fell onto a bus. That was during hurricane of '79 when that baobab tree actually fell onto a bus that was donated by the Canadian, a school bus. And of course, you see the results. It wasn't taken off, it wasn't moved, but it just actually indicates and reminds of what happened and the strength of that wind, one could imagine. You notice that it grows, the tree as it fell, it grew back, and the way it grows now is sort of aerial, you know, that's what it called. Trees coming out from it, and they all can be used as other trees. Now that tree, it's sort of plant, there's a plant in it that they use for floral arrangements. It has a plant, and it is not in flower now, but when it does, that plant falls, and people collect it and use it as in a floral arrangement, in their vase arrangements. So you'll find that is one of the very common plants that they have at the gardens. There are not much remaining. I think that was the only baobab tree at the gardens, and so it is. There is very much rooting. You can see there in itself, and of course the way it goes after it fell. So that is the baobab tree.
So Ashton, before we go, just a brief description or explanation of that photo. Would that be the destruction of Hurricane 79 that we are witnessing
Yes,
here
yes. That
in photo?
that's a photo, and you notice that it was given the name David and Goliath because it was Hurricane David. Well, actually, David the Goliath. So it actually carried both names, David the Goliath. Hurricane David was indeed a Goliath. And we could see based on the photos that were taken, the aftermath of Hurricane David at the gardens. You know, in which the gardens was totally, either it was defoliated or falling trees or deep branch. And there was a lot of work to be done after Hurricane David by the division. I was a young guy working there at the time, and I remembered a lot of the lumber that was there were collected, used, and brought back and was sold to people, but used by forestry. And a lot of that was done in 79 following Hurricane David. And the garden was brought back after to a very comfortable and very scenic area once again. So that just shows you the sort of aftermath. And well, actually it gives a description of what happened at the time.
We're talking about 150 miles per hour wind then.
That's right.
Wow, wow.
Yep. Of course, if you look in the distance, you'll see like the old administrative office of the Forestry Division. When I came to the division, that is where I worked. It was a main center. It still remains there. Of course, a few here and there extensions, but otherwise, it's still in use. I think there is a documentation of some sort of library in there for Forestry Division.
Okay.
But it's the administration, as I told you before, the forestry was responsible for administration. And here is an interesting tree. That is the Bois Carib, or the national flower of Dominica. But what you see, what you see now is that the flower, or the national flower, is not in bloom.
Yes.
Maybe later on during the year, because that is the time of the year when they become in bloom. You would find them many along the west coast, called Sabinia carinalis is the name, and it is only found in Dominica. That's why we renamed it some time ago the national flower of Dominica. Okay, or the Carib wood if you want.
Okay.
They have in bloom, that flower would be of red inflorescence, a lot of blooming flowers, and it's a totally different flower. So if you're driving along the west coast and you notice a lot of flowers commonly, and they are in bloom and red and really beautifying the west coast, that is the national flower.
That is it right there. Wow. The national flower of people Dominica, you just heard it from the man, Mr. Lugi, giving us a tour of the botanical gardens. So far, so good in terms of the information and education. Very interesting.
Now we come to an area where you have what we call the neem or neem tree.
That's a neem tree.
The neem tree is, and that tree was planted by a young girl called in 1980, I think, right after the hurricane, or 1981, somewhere along, by a convent high school student at the time, a young child. She is the daughter of Plashy Police, Plashy Seaman, and a former teacher, Helen Seaman.
Oh yes, I remember.
You know?
I remember. Yes.
Well, I can't remember the name, but she's now in New York. I think she's now some police in the United States.
Okay.
New York
I
Police
think
Department.
I saw her documentary
She was
going
featured.
on. Yes.
But that child planted that neem tree in
Wow.
1981 after Hurricane David. And that tree is there. Yeah.
Wow.
And that neem tree, you know, whatever is facing there, that neem tree, that. And of course, you know, neem is important. It's a tree that people use, especially people with diabetics use. Neem tree has very medicinal purposes, and of course provide a lot of flower during the flowering. A lot of birds would feed in them, and so on in the neem tree. So the neem tree has very much significant. Of course, its crown and its crown provides shade, a lot of shade for people using the gardens, and hence it's important in the gardens. So, of course, the garden's purpose is not only for site tourists, but also for locals. It's a recreational area, sporting activities, educational activities. Students in the field of environment, biology, sciences would use the gardens for research. Of course, physical education. As you can see, there are a number of students here. At the gardens, relaxing. And ambience, quiet, you know, peace, relaxation. You want to come to a place where you want quiet and relaxation. Of course, the gardens is that place for you.
Sure.
And the gardens itself being in proximity to the secondary schools, especially the convent high school, yeah, that would be more reasons why they would have students at the gardens. And of course, what we are doing, because there were a lot more species of trees at the gardens. As I told you, the major hurricanes affected and we lost a number of trees. So what you actually see in there would be, I would really call it about 40% of what used to be at the gardens.
Oh wow! So there were much more.
Yeah, man. We lost a lot of trees at the gardens.
Wow.
A number of trees we grew, but we lost a lot of trees at the gardens. It's in between 40-45% of trees, you know, we actually lost at the gardens. That I would say remaining from what we lost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you spoke of before the cross area. I'm now pointing on it. So can you just give the people an idea of, you know, just to expound on that area?
We talk about the linkages between the gardens and Mongoose.
Hello.
You know, the gardens have a link to Mongoose, which is an extension, if you want, of the gardens. Captain Mongoose is an old soldier that at the time resided at Mongoose area, hence the name.
Okay.
And of course, Mongoose is where we have the main cross that you want to see. The cross was built overlooking the city at Mongoose. And especially like this time of the year.
You can zoom on that cross that you're speaking of.
Especially at the time of the year.
A little piece of it, yes.
A little piece, because it's overgrown by trees there now.
Yes.
So we have to do some little thing. But especially at this time, Easter time, you find a lot of people have pilgrimage to Mongoose for the Easter, you know, and you know at that time. So you would see, and if you notice a number of tourists there at Mongoose. Mongoose would be a former place to Mongoose was where most of the parliamentarians, judiciary, the paper, you know, the bishop, the prime minister or premier, heads of government, president, governor. That's where mainly the whole administrative thing of Dominica would reside up at Mongoose.
Yes.
A lot of that has changed now because there are different private homes and there are other homes that the people live. But that was real at Mongoose. So the name Mongoose is more after Captain Mongoose, Captain Bruce.
Yes.
And of course it is an area which is now a tourist site.
Yeah.
And it's an extension of the gardens.
Also too, very instrumental is the fact that the police, the armory is up there as well. Historically, I'm being told as well, in terms of the security for Dominica as a whole, when these, you know, wars between the French and English were going on, Mongoose up at that site was very pivotal point in terms of the security for Dominica.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Yep. What's up, bro? Of course, we will not points out each and every tree we see, but with main trees.
Yeah, the main
main
ones,
trees.
yes.
Of course, there are a number of different trees there. Not everyone, but we'll go at the main trees. So the next tree we want to move on to, you're providing a nice little tour to a tourist because you'd want to. Of course, you'll notice that the ground itself, the grass is not green because of the time of the year. This is the season of Karem or the dry spell.
Yes.
And of course, you know what's happening with climate change. If you get more, the worse you will see them dry. So at this time of the year, a number of people, we used to have water, but it hasn't been functioning for a while. So there were sprinklers all over the gardens that would sprinkle at the time. So in one way, it is of an advantage in itself to let people know that this is what the reflection is during that time of the year, during what we call the Karem or dry season that extends between December and May. So especially at this point in March, we'll get those extreme weather conditions, dry areas, and hence you have the grass reflected in that way at the gardens.
Very brown in nature, yeah.
There are not only trees but also flowering plants or brushes or shrubs. And one of the shrubs that they got is this one they call the Barbados Pride.
Wow, the
And
Barbados Pride.
It shouldn't be mistaken with the flamboyant, although it looks from the same family of trees. It is different in terms of its own nature of growth. I know I'm following. So, it is called the Barbados Pride, and it is usually growing along edges, and it beautifies edges and areas along corridors and so on. So it's another shrub at the garden. And this tree there, this tree that we are watching, well, probably it's the time of the year, but that is the cannonball tree.
Okay.
And as such, it should have a number of cannonballs like that, but at the time, no, there are none on it. So it is named cannonball for obvious reason. The shape of the fruits are like cannonball. It's a very resilient tree, as you can see, and it stood or have been withstanding all the forces of nature, and it's still there. It's unfortunate that we cannot get anyone there. There is no.
I guess it's the time of the year we came, but at least you showed us in picture. You showed us in picture what's supposed to be. On that, you showed us in picture as to what's supposed to be.
What it's supposed to be.
We have a good, we have a quite well understanding.
And I said earlier that tree, of course, too. It would have been nice to see those trees in flowering, but I was talking about the difference between the Barbados Pride and the flamboyant. They have similar nature, similar family, but they are different. One is a tree, one is a shrub.
Okay, so this is the flamboyant tree.
Yeah, and the flamboyant tree, of course, is one of the most popular trees here in Dominica. It grows along usually park areas. Usually has flower, very red, a colorful inflorescence when it is flowering. Maybe yellow, maybe pink, maybe red, and at this time, not yet. But one of the main things too is that they call the seeds of them. They grow in a pod or the shack that used by young children, and we used to eat them growing up. open the pods of the seeds and eat them, bread and cheese. I don't know, loved if you had that time there.
Well, I never ate it, but
well,
I remember
yeah.
the shack.
Remember the gardens too, because of, remember I told you about 2 areas within the gardens. One of the ornamental and the experimental or agricultural area. And the agricultural area, which is at the back of the gardens, of course occupied a lot of fruits, flowering fruits and seeds and limes and oranges, grapefruit, sugar apple, you know. And of course, as young people growing up, usually have confrontation with the guards at the gardens because we wanted to sample what we left.
Yes.
It was an experimental session also. It was also an outlet for people growing citrus, limes. People would come at the gardens and buy stuff. And of course, it used to be extensively used for, you know, expansion of the agricultural sector, that section.
Yep. All right, folks. So far, so good. We are moving on our tour here in the Botanical Gardens with Mr. Lugie. Everybody know this brother by the nickname Wackers.
Then what you have there is what they call the alamander. It's another shrub, another flowering plant, another shrub that you see growing at the gardens. Alamander is another beautification plant that can be used for landscaping, beautification, and all that, you know, at the gardens. So alamanders. Another one is the bougainvillea.
Okay.
Yeah, the bougainvillea plant, a lot that is used.
Yeah, a lot of people have this at the homes.
Yeah, a lot of people use that at the gardens.
So. And they come in different colors as well.
Yeah, different colors.
White,
in there.
pink, orange, purple.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have what you call another shrub. It's a bottle brush, or the, you see the inflorescences.
Call it the bottle brush?
Bottle brush plant.
Okay, wow. Bottle brush plant.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, for sure, I'm learning something to the work.
Did I say bottle brush? No, it's not bottle brush. It's Ixora. Ixora plant.
Ixora.
Ixora. Ixora. Ixora plant.
All right.
It's him, but you know, sorry. So that it is an Ixora. You have them there, and besides it, overlooking is the bottle brush.
Okay. So, folks, just a slight
yeah, that is the bottle
here.
brush plant.
This is the Ixora,
yeah.
and then the bottle brush is on the next
see
side.
another example of the bottle brush. Of course. Why bottle brush? Because as you can see from the flowers, you know, like when you have bottle brush killing inside the bottle, it is of that shape, hence the name, common name called bottle brush.
Okay.
Of course, at the gardens, we provide the private sector to do and to operate at the gardens during the time of tourist visitation, where they can have an outlet selling local material, local items, maybe some.
So like that is something like what is happening down there now.
It is a sort of thing granted to people within the area to sell within the gardens, one or two people. Okay.
Yep.
And if we just go across, you have a little section of palm at the gardens, all different types of palms, and you know, different shapes and different forms. Of course, even though we don't know it, but palm is a good resilient species for storms. And these palms here, you know, that one over there, you see the bottleneck palm. And then you have other palms there. Okay. So the names can't come to mind now, but they are about different species of palms.
But Ashton, you know what would be very good in terms of, as you said before, for locals and our tourists. what would be good is if a name tag or label can be placed on these trees.
Yes,
For sure, because
of course.
at least that. At least we can start there.
There was the drive, I think, following the last hurricane to have a committee set up. I don't know what has become of
Okay.
that. Of course, I don't work at the gardens. I'm a retired officer, and I wasn't called to assist on that. But I know that, but nothing has been done since.
Okay.
But of course, it's an obvious recommendation to tag the trees that are of most importance, most significant at the gardens. Because you see some bigger palms there, like the Cuban palm, that tall palm, a lot of them, as you know.
Yeah.
You know, the Cuban palm there, a lot of them. But I think one of the things to do is the measures that have to be taken is to rename those things.
Sure.
Rename those things. Yeah, let's go back.
And I must say, Ashton, the people who work in the garden, they are very good in terms of their
Yeah.
designing of the flowers, the designing of the trees, and the cutting of them as well, like
Yeah.
we are seeing here.
Of course, that's a bamboo species that was planted and it was shaped. Of course, the guys that do the hedge cutting.
Yes, yes.
There's a special guy, I think his name is Moses Rasmo, that used to do. I think he's retired now, but maybe some other person catch on now.
Yes.
And one of his is not only reshape and design and create those sort of things, but to maintain the hedges along the, like by the convent high school.
Okay.
Keep them things and do some shapes with the, like those trees down there. You see
Yes,
them
yes,
shaped
yes.
like an umbrella. And yeah, that's one of the things that they do. Yeah. And of course, in the gardens is used for functions like weddings, birthdays, christenings, small little activities. And that little, what you call, shed
Arch.
or arch was built there by the forest. A lot of things in terms of wedding celebrations,
Functions,
music gardens,
different
functions.
functions.
Come there, have the little ceremonies and use the arch.
Look, right about now, we are seeing some
course,
exercise.
Yeah, exercise, people use that
happening
for
there.
treatment, Yep,
So the gardens itself is multifunctional.
multifunctional, very much.
And as a famous,
Well,
the
or
famous
infamous if you want. That's the famous or popular.
yes, I popular
Bamboo
spots in the
house,
garden,
yeah.
bamboo house.
Yeah, and of course, it's one of our major stop at the gardens of interest.
Yes.
The bamboo house can be described, quote unquote, as multifunctional, if you want, because of the fact that a lot of lovers, guys propose within there, lovers meet young boys, school children. She might be for boyfriend in the gardens, but go by the bamboo house. So the bamboo house, it's a popular area, popular visited, cool area, and so on. And it is maintained in terms of its shape, its size, And of course, bamboo in itself being a resilient plant as well, has survived many hurricanes too. And we know the function and purposes of bamboo.
True.
Bamboo serves as a soil stabilization thing, and bamboo is very good along slopes and areas like that. And the bamboo house is one of the most popular and visited areas in the gardens. Of course, at this time of the year, as I said, you're not seeing the flowering part of the gardens. Maybe later down during the summer, you might see them coming around. But the garden suddenly changes with the seasons in terms of its lawn, its beauty, the flowering part lights up, You'd see that at the gardens. Because, like for instance, that tree there, the pink pois, during the time of flowering, the whole flooring of that tree is pink.
Wow.
And it changes. So I have it there, but that is why, you know, a lot of times you will not, you know, like, whoa, yeah.
So that is it.
That is it
full bloom.
during full bloom.
Pink,
know?
pink poa, you call it.
Pink poa, yeah. And as you can see, it's not in bloom, so you're kind of missing out a lot on the beauty itself, revealing itself through flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to...
Yeah, we'll take a walk through in famous bamboo house. Ashton, you're laughing as though you had good memories there, man, Ashton.
Not really, I was a good boy. I would go home after school.
All right, Ashton, okay. Point taken, I rest my case.
And as you can see, it's, you know, popular among the visitors as well.
That's why you will not find a big bamboo tree like this.
Yes.
But it's thin and just keep on growing. And this here, people like me and you.
And it's interesting to note the way that they grow. Yeah, they cluster and they grow to great heights. You know, as you can see. And it usually meets at the top and forms into a sort of dome at the top. You go, brother.
Everything good?
All right.
Bless you. Yeah, man. Everything good? Yeah, and they go run there. Yeah, man.
Whatever they make it for them and do the whatever. What?
And if you observe all on this, initials.
I'm seeing Ashton. Folks, what I need to show you as well was Ashton is taking a little break. On this, we are still inside the bamboo house, but this speaks to the number of persons who have attended inside the bamboo house. A lot of initials have been engraved on the stock of the bamboo itself, and so that gives us a good idea, a good snapshot as to the number of people who have visited the bamboo house, as it is called. I heard a guy call it a while ago the lover's house. Okay, so this is just a lot of inscriptions here, giving us a good snapshot as to the number of persons who have visited the bamboo house or lover's house, as it is called. All right, and that is just in one area, one tooth, as it is were. Then if we go around, inscriptions are all along as well. Okay, all over the bamboo house, inscriptions. All right, so let's go back to our lead tour guide for the day. Here it is, we have some children enjoying themselves in the gardens as well. These are some of the workers as well who take care of the botanical gardens on a daily basis.
And don't cross the road, please don't go by the road. Look at that, oh my God. I want some of the Let me see.
So yeah, and as you can see, right bro, take it easy, yeah. You always go to notice that, of course, during that time of the holidays and the importance of having children at an early age to be in the gardens and understand. That's how it is. A line of palms along the corridors or the roads and so on. You see them. You know, different types of palms. There are more than over 500 different species of palms in the world. So obviously you'll find some of them. And is this week that the Palm Sunday, Auntie?
Palm Sunday, yes.
So obviously, yeah, a lot of the palms that you will see people using come from the gardens too.
Wow.
Yep.
Let's go.
When we see those trees remaining like that tree that they call the Dita, D-I-T-A, the Dita tree. Of course, from Southeast Asia. D-I-T-A, Dita back.
Oh,
Dita back
wow.
tree.
Dita back tree.
Yeah. It, you know, Somehow I like to call it the elephant feet because the size of an elephant foot is look like what at the bottom there.
Very tall.
But that
boy.
tree is another tree too. You may notice when it is flowering, you will hear birds singing around that.
Wow.
Birds singing around that tree when it is flowering. So the gardens is of very much significance for birds as well and flowering plants and for honey. Because some guys have honey in close proximity in the area, and that is the purpose they have it for. The gardens are used, and when these plants flower, that's where birds come, get the pollen and go there. Some of the trees, there was a main tree, a monkey tamarind, but it fell by the hurricane. That's one of the trees. If you go there, you might see another cannonball. Maybe we might be lucky to see them if they have. Well, that's the cannonball tree, but as you can see, there's now very cannonball.
So that's another cannonball, but
Yeah,
no
that's
cannons on there.
as you can see. Now, that line of trees you see there, line of trees going there, with the exception of the flamboyant tree, but in the lower
Yes,
depression
yes,
you see a
yes.
line of trees. Oh, that is mahogany trees
Oh, wow.
that were planted more than almost 70 years ago.
So that's a very
50 years, yeah.
special tree.
Tree line of trees, a
That
mahogany
is
section.
good for furniture making and
That's
stuff,
right.
mahogany.
And at the back of it, you see a composting section where you have usually forestry, shape and plants and do the composting.
Yes.
So you see them piling it up for use of put back in the gardens.
Mahogany.
And we didn't really go, but on the other side of there is a main recreational area,
Okay.
and we should visit there.
There's a tree for sure. I need you to give me.
Which one?
There's a very huge tree down there. Every time I come in the garden, that tree amazes me.
I know it. Albizia.
Oh, Albizia. Okay, we'll get
in
to
Africa,
it.
you don't see it in Africa in this. You don't see it in Africa when you're talking about ranges.
Okay,
And you see the
okay.
tall tree that's
Yeah, man, that
in the
tree-
distance.
That tree to me,
And it's resilient.
it stands out in the garden to me.
Look it down there.
Yeah, we'll get to it in a while.
Of course, this is an important area in terms of recreation. That's the main playing field at the
Yes,
gardens.
yes.
Over the years, it has been used mainly for cricket and international cricket to say first class cricket, Windward Islands cricket, and most of the major cricketers you see coming from Dominica started at the gardens.
Yeah.
They were molded at the gardens. And what you find is that it was surrounded by mainly a tree called salmon tree. This salmon, so what you see in the next generation, 2 hurricane David salmon trees that will fail and go
Okay,
and
okay.
stay there, you know. But we lost a lot of trees around the gardens. See that tree, the mahogany down there, the salmon trees. So that's a main recreational area in terms of cricket in particular at the gardens, which is still being used today. And for local cricket at the gardens there.
You touched on it before, but the gardens I know used to be before. I don't know if persons enjoy it as much as before, but it used to be a nice recreational area. Sunday
Yeah.
afternoons,
Yeah.
you come there with the family, you lay down
Yeah.
your sheet, and you just
Yeah.
enjoy nature.
That's right. That's right. Yep. We could say we lose that for many reasons, not particularly because there's this interest sidetrack other options.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know, the fact that we don't promote it that much, or we don't, as parents, try our best to use it, and bring people to get them to like it. Yep.
What we never spoke about?
Okay, so we are moving on, yes?
Huh?
Yes, I said we are moving on, yes.
Yeah. Let's keep it. Let's keep it. I can do it.
Okay. I'm seeing something looking like a pineapple below here.
No, it is,
And the tree itself looks like a
that's
pineapple
what they're
tree.
using to make Hatsikari.
Okay, okay. Wow, very
I was
beautiful.
trying, huh?
Very beautiful
I
in
was
it.
trying to remember the name. The name. Okay. That is the Podocarpus. What they call the mountain resine.
Okay.
You know? So that is it. Yeah. You find it mainly around freshwater areas and freshwater lakes.
How they call it? How they call it?
Podocarpus.
Podocarpus.
Podocrpus. Or mountain resine.
Mountain resine. Okay, that's good. They are also seen as well, folks. The garden is heavily used by traffic, especially heavy equipments in particular. So I know there have been concerns in that department, but I guess we'll have to rectify that as a people. But I just thought I'd point that out in terms of the heavy traffic flow in what's supposed to be the botanical gardens of Dominica. That's the bougainvillea we saw earlier.
That's right. That's Coil. Yeah.
So you are now encroaching on the Jack's Walk area.
Yeah, we are now
Leading
on
up to the
eastern
cross.
side of the gardens, and of course, which is close to the university campus.
Yes.
The entry gate on that side comes in that side, so usually you see a lot of traffic traversing through the gardens. It is one of the shortcuts, the easier passage into town.
I just mentioned that already.
Yeah. And so at the back there you find there's a lot of what they call blue mahou trees. You can see them throwing more or less at the back.
So these flooring trees are called blue mahou
Blue
tree.
mahou, you know they use blue mahou in furniture,
Yes,
tables.
yes.
That is where they are. You notice they will more go in a cooler part of the area.
Okay.
Blue mahou. Of course, Coast Street is an Armando, you know,
Yes.
usually of seaside origin, but see they go to a very big point at the back, you know. And then if you take that walk at the back there now, you enter into the other side and you're now going into the Jack Walks area of the garden.
So this, folks, is the stem of the blue mahou, as Ashton pointed out earlier. Very huge stem, which is very good in terms of furniture making. Huh? this is the track or the trail that leads up to the cross area where we showed you earlier. That is known as Jack's Walk. Ashton will be telling us a little. Yes, Ashton, I was just saying this is the trail that leads to the cross.
Yeah, this is
Jack's
part of
Walk
the
trail.
botanical trails that leads to the Jack Walks.
Yeah.
And you would have toured the gardens, and then you, if you feel like you would want to do a hike, this is where I would take you.
Yeah.
You would come to Jack Walk Trail. Of course, Jack Walk obviously is named after Mr. Jack. I have no idea who he is. But I'm sure he must have been somebody associated or work with the gardens. I never really found out who Mr. Jack was.
Yeah.
So, but it is sometimes called
And I want to think he used that trail, he used that passage a lot
probably
to do whatever
yes.
he used to do.
And not only he, but it was a shortcut between up Monbus and Roseau.
Okay.
Because it's this way instead of going the whole route. And then sometimes they do call it the, if you want, the gardens to Monbus Trail.
Okay.
It is a short trail, about 20 minutes. A 20-minute trail, mainly, well, steps. You know, it was reconstructed and
Okay.
steps in and walking. Beautiful.
Hi. Jack Walks Trail.
Oh, but you know how we are from here.
We are from Germany.
Germany.
Yeah. And you are from
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag, yes?
Guten Tag. Yeah. I'm from here.
You're from here?
I live here. I used to work in
Nice.
yes.
Nice island.
Yeah, Germany. Mr. Scholz.
yeah.
Mr. Scholz.
Yeah,
Mr. Scholz is a good man. Mr. Scholz is a good man. That's his name? That's the name, Mr. Scholz?
Scholz.
Mr. Scholz. Yeah. So, you know, of course, you know, people visit the gardens, you make friends, you know, you see, you know, like that's the ambience and the beauty of communication.
We're just doing a short documentary of the gardens.
Yes.
And so we welcome you guys, you know. How have you been enjoying Dominica so far?
Yeah, it's a nice place.
Wow. Nice place.
Did you come on a cruise ship?
Yes.
Or so you just have a short visit? You didn't
Yeah,
have
sure.
time to go.
Last year we were also here.
Ah, so it's your
Exactly
second
1 year, second time we were here.
Ah, good. Okay. You need to spend time to go out, go to the field, go to the water. All right.
Nice day.
Yes, folks, we are moving on. Just visited the Jack's Walk area, as you heard Ashton indicated to us, and as well the sign leading up to the cross area in Monbus. Very interesting tour so far. Are you ready?
You know, we're going to and then we're going
Oh, okay. All right, folks. This is a track on the eastern side of the botanical gardens. That is directly under Monbrose, which is the cross area, which is in that area on top of there. So Brother Walkers is just taking us along that route so that he can further explain as to some things that have happened or is happening here as we speak in the botanical gardens area. So far so good, a very interesting tour so far. I for sure have learned a lot, and I hope that you guys are learning as well, especially about a very historic place in Dominica, which is the botanical garden. So far so good. We are moving on. Just making sure that I capture as much as possible, which will be to your educational advantage. All right, so here is our lead guide today, Brother Walkers, making his way to me at this moment as we continue on here.
So then somebody would either choose the option of going up Monbrose using the trail,
Yes.
or continuing along that same trail there
Okay.
and going down to, we call the Parrot area,
Oh, the parrot. Okay.
the Avery.
Okay, cool.
So in entering the Parrot area, you'd go along an area called 35 Steps.
Okay.
35 Steps has its own significance in one, Dominica's folklore, and two, Dominica's upbringing.
Okay.
A lot of physical activities goes along 35 Steps, training,
Okay.
using the gardens, jack walks, and then a lot of romantic activities go along the 35 Steps.
Okay.
People for years have been proposing on the 35 Steps.
Wow.
You meet your first girlfriend, I don't know if he was in Cochrane at the time or he was in Roseau as a boy. When you meet your girl and you say, let's go gardens, and the first place you think of coming is sit down on 35 Steps.
Well, 45 Step wasn't one of my main areas. Where we just passed Bamboo House was.
Yeah. So 35 Steps is a very significant area. Of course, it is named 45, of course it's 35 Steps.
Yes.
And of course, it was built, I think, long before Hurricane David. It has always been there. It has been re-established, renewed,
Okay.
you know,
Yes.
and renovated in itself. But it always remains.
We are now going down the
Yeah.
35 steps as it were.
I mean, I usually go in medical initial training, football, or, you know, Mr. Conley and train there. And students too. A lot of guys find the best place to study is on 25 step areas, you know?
Yes.
I can make a liquid before the tourists come. Don't put that on my
Good then. So we have just basically, folks, descended the 35 steps area. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pan the camera back up to the 35 steps so that you could see actually from another vantage point the 35 steps in total that Brother Walkers mentioned to us about. Yeah. And as I said, we are now going into an area which is known as the Avery in the gardens in just a bit, where the parrots are kept and different species of birds and animals are kept in just a while. But so far so good, very lush, very green. Although we are in the Kawem season, it still speaks to the beauty that the botanical garden possess. Very lush, very green. I was just saying, Ashton, although it is Kawem season, but this place is still very lush and green, eh?
Yeah, because of the area and the trees that surround it.
Okay.
If you notice a lot of on the flame of the forest, you see a red blue. These are trees that show up after a storm very fast growing trees. They call it the African tulip
African tulip.
or
I
flame
heard-
of the
I
forest.
heard that
Or
word,
what we know locally as the PP tree.
Oh,
When it was strong, we say that
okay.
PP.
Yes,
And the
yes,
seeds,
yes.
the pods of it, they call it the flame of the forest because of its obvious outstanding colors
Yes.
in the middle of a forest. Mainly along river banks, areas that are very prone to hurricane and damage. You know, two trees that would come up very close is a tree they call Boakano or Sucupia and the flame of the forest. These are trees that will show up fruits after any storm and try to occupy. And underneath you'd have the undergrowth coming, which is what you see in a lot
Okay,
of
okay.
there.
Yes, yes,
You know?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And of course, this is that is the experimental or the agricultural section of the gardens we are in. But now, not much activities of agriculture and research, and you know, it's because the whole back of the forest, which is this area at the back, there used to be a lot of citrus fruits and cultures.
All here
native
used to be
plants.
fruit,
Yeah.
citrus fruits and
Yeah,
stuff.
fruits and mangosteen and you know, all these are the back.
I'm kind of interested in knowing why it is. Why
This
this
is what
kind
they
of
sometime
open-
after Hurricane David, one of the projects that we undertook was fish farming.
Oh, okay, okay.
And they developed some ponds at the back
Okay,
there,
so-
mainly for tilapias,
Yeah.
you know, mainly for local one. It was sort of successful. They used it as a sort of springboard for expansion of that project. But somehow it never took off. Never took off. I think it's something that can work if it is done properly.
Yeah.
So these are remnants or remains of the pools we already.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Thank you for that.
You pass an hour already, Lofty?
Yes, for sure. Well, just about an hour.
Okay. And that's we're now looking at. Yes, Vincent? Yeah, you did not smoke so? Hi. How are you?
Hi, fine, thanks.
Fine? Guten Tag?
Guten Tag, ja. Sehr gut. Ja, genau, Brexit. We have never seen before.
What you eating? You are eating? Right. And that is the popular Avery, the parrot Avery. Remember, we was going through a very peculiar issue regarding our plants. Not only our plants, our fauna, not only the flora of Dominica was affected, but the fauna of Dominica, which is the wildlife of Dominica, was affected, mainly the parrots. As you know, Dominica has two endemic species of parrots, the jackal and the cicero, only in the, because the cicero, as you know, is the largest parrot in the world. And we know that it's only from here, and they were severely threatened after the hurricane. So there was a project to take some of them into and have them into captivity, especially one for preservation of the species and two for birth, for reproduction.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was used there as a reproductive area for parrots. I think it only succeeded in one producing one or two wildlife things, but no, it is mainly used an area where people can have a look at the wildlife and see them there
Okay.
instead of going into the wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you notice that Philip, our tube would be one of a circular,
Yes, yes, I
Is that
realize
the
that.
point?
I realize that.
and you need to really indicate a tour if you want.
Yes.
And you end that really where you started. So people would have an idea of all activity within the garden.
But what I would really want us to do as well is to go down to that victory area, at least to end it there.
Yeah, that's
Also,
yeah. I have one or two other trees there, but there's a particular tree there which is called the ilang ilang. It is behind that tree there, the ilang ilang.
Elang, elang.
If you notice, there was a tree by the ministry that used to smell sweets when the evening come.
Oh,
There is
yes,
one at
yes.
the university center by the
Right there.
bridge.
Yes,
there.
yes, yes,
When
right.
evening come, be like go somewhere out of a room. This tree should never be cut anywhere in the world. Because in the evening, when the trees let go there, the whole of rose smell is. You
Wow.
wonder who spread perfume on the rose
Wow.
at the time. Even now, with those few trees remaining, it is one of the trees that should really be preserved and planted. The ilang ilang,
Yes,
it
I'm
is
seeing
right
it at the back
behind
there.
it.
Yes, I'm seeing it.
So that's another tree. So, you know, there are a lot of trees of significance at the garden. Very much so. So you by that tree.
Yes.
Hey! Bravo! Get up! You're moving, your boy!
Folks, will be bringing our tour to an end in just a bit. I really and truly hope that you guys are so far been enjoying the tour of the botanical gardens in Ruzu. This tree is very beautiful. It opens up as the tail of a peacock. Right there, very beautiful. And that's the bamboo house area where we were before. So we have now crossed the road in the gardens, people, and we are now on the northern end of the gardens. Well, my tour guide brother called me, so I have to cross back that road. And I know he's going to tell us. He's going to tell us something very significant here. I'm thinking about that tree. Yeah. Yes, because we are
So, in a nutshell, it is important to preserve and to uphold and keep the name of the gardens and to help to restore it. At least one of the main things I see that can happen is the planting. I haven't seen any major replanting being done to the gardens. And of significant species. I think if we spend a little less time talking and start doing, then we can have, at least for the last 10 years of talking, we would have a tree that is 10 years old.
Yes, true.
And I haven't seen much of that.
Yeah.
Because there are the challenges of storms and hurricanes, but it doesn't mean we cannot do what we have to do. And in a nutshell, you have seen in one, just on this little tour, how important the garden is to one, upbringing children, education, sports, nature, recreation, all in one. You have seen the fact that even in terms of your psychological and mental development, your peace of mind, you can come to the gardens, relax, you know?
Yes.
And that's why it's important to have something like the Botanical Gardens as is, and even make it, enhance it. Okay? And if that's
I'm going to end with you on that large tree.
oh,
A large tree, and then for sure we will bring it to an end in just a minute. There's a large tree down there that always amazes me, as I told you. It is right there, right down in the...
which one? The one right down there? The one in the middle by the...
Right here, right there. It's coming up.
That one there?
No, not this one. It's a little further down.
The one that stand out there, the height
It has
one.
it has a galvanized hook in it after Hurricane Maria.
Yeah. Oh, the Albies, yeah.
Yeah. So folks, so far, as I said before, I hope that you have indeed enjoyed the tour. We're now going under the albizia tree, as it is known, and then we will end that discussion here with you guys in just a bit. All right, but so far, please enjoy the view of the botanical garden. Very dry now with a lot of leaves on there, but even that too is part of the beauty of nature. Here's a nice little fern-like setup here as well on the outskirts of the perimeter of the well-known cricketing area of the botanical garden. But this tree, people, this tree, it always amazes me when it comes to the garden. This
So
tree,
we will
very tall.
We will end our tour by a tree called the Albizia. Albizia, A-L-B-I-Z-Z-I-A. Albizia, because of its resilience, its growing height. Of course, it's strong. You see the tree that said it was now and then. But it is a very strong tree originating from Africa. Okay. It's one of the trees that withstood many hurricanes here. It's over 100 and something years. And it is a main attraction at the gardens. So there's another tree of it closer to the Bafford area in it. And of course, it's a tree where you'd find birds, ewes, nests, and anytime you're doing a safari or you notice safari along African countries, you see that tree in the savannas of Africa.
The stem is very big, boy.
The stem is it has a broad stem, and it's
and the roots as well extend to a whole.
Tree that is very well firmed in the ground.
Yeah, the roots extend long and wide.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yep, we would end by that, and at that tree called, of course, the Albizia.
Brother Walkers, I just want to thank you, my brother, for taking time off. I know I've contacted you a little while, but we had to make it happen, and so today it happened. So on behalf of the many folks who will be listening and learning more in particular from this, documentary, as it will, Our Botanical Gardens, I want to thank you on behalf of all of them, and just continue to be the good citizen of Dominica, as I know you to be, Walkers.
Okay, thank you. It's my pleasure.
All right.
All right.